from that point all the way to this point, so that when you close this, that place will open. So let me go and slash there from the top all the way to that point. And also don't stop. So let me make an example. I have cut and then stopped somewhere here. When I try to close, I'll have issues with my paper. It's going to raise. So to make it easy for yourself, you need to slash all the way to that bust point. It will make it easier for you. So now let me close for you to see. Now by closing, you realize the paper is still lying down flat. So you take your masking tape and then you place it on top like that. So you bind the two of them together beautifully like that. So your bust dart has been moved to your shoulder beautifully, and you realize that our shoulder has now become very wide because a dart has been moved to that place. And like I said, anytime you move a dart to an area, the shape of that area changes, but it doesn't affect the human figure in any way. Somebody will say, oh, but when the dart was here, it was very small, but now that you moved it to this area, it has become extremely big. Won't it worry you? No, it won't worry you in any way. Okay, the idea is that because this point to this point is very short, that is why you had your dart shorter. Immediately you are moving it to a very far place, then the dart will become longer or slightly bigger or extremely longer. So just like we did at the beginning, you take this, your paper, you place it on another brown paper, you retrace around it. Let me do it for the last time. Okay, so all I'm going to do is this. I'll place it on another brown paper. Take my white paper as a brown paper. Okay, I'm using this white paper so that you can see exactly what I did. So you place it here beautifully like that, and then you tape it down. Then you pick your pencils and then you begin to redraw around it. But let's draw the dart first. And I'm saying that when you are going to now redraw, don't draw the dart from this point all the way to this point. It's too long. So you measure 1 inch or ½ inch to 1 inch like this, and then you make a dot somewhere here. So your drawing is going to start from this tip and then it will end on that dot. So by doing that, you would have reduced the length of your dart, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's redraw the whole thing beautifully. I'm drawing one part of my shoulder and then I draw another part of my shoulder like this. Now you can actually move 2 darts to one place. There are no rules that says move one dart to one area or anything. You can move several darts. If you have 1,000 darts, you can bring all of them together. So you can combine the darts and then they'll become just one dart like that. We'll be making reference to the big design book, so you'll see some of the different things you can do. Now let's pick this section again. You do realize that because I did some closing here, that place has become a little bit funny. What people do is they mostly will blend this little part that is chopped off and then they will now come and redraw around it. But I am saying that you can actually take a scissors and then shape both of them together. It's an argument that you can't be part of. Okay, there is an argument that, oh, you need to draw from the top, others say you need to draw from the down and all of that. So when we, the instructors, we come together, we make those arguments, and people outside as well. But for you, dear, you are not fit enough to be part of that argument. So just draw, just draw beautifully. Cut, just smoothen it so that they are all the same. And then I think I'm done. You should trace your grain line out like this all the way to this point. And then because I have a waist dart, let's just imagine that my design has a waist dart, but it doesn't have a bust. It has a dart at the shoulder. So that's why I have moved my bust to my shoulder. Then you trace this dart out beautifully. So now I am done. When you take it off, this is what you're going to get. Good. So you have a design where the bust dart has been moved to your shoulder, and then the waist dart has been maintained like that. So you add your 5/8 all around, you go and sew. So when you are sewing, this time you hold the dart at the shoulder. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's try another design. So like I was saying, you can transfer 2 darts. Okay, let me even make it like this. Let's just say I don't want a waist dart. I rather want one big bust dart. So what am I going to do? Let's learn how to combine 2 darts to become one. So I'll find my apex and I want to move my waist dart to my bust dart so that I'll sew just 1 dart. Mind you, if you are wondering why we have that in the blog, don't forget in the classroom, when we're in the classroom, you were taught that darts are shape building technique. Without that, your dresses are going to look so flat on you. And because you're a lady, you always need dart or seams and some of these things. The only time you wouldn't see a dart or a seam and these things in your dress is when the fabric is stretchy or when the design is loose on you. Then you don't need the dart and the rest. But for these ones we are wearing that we want to see shapes inside, I would need the dart. So you can't say I want to take all the darts off, but you can combine them, you can manipulate them, you can move it from here to there, you can do it so many things with it. That's why we are learning this process. So I want to move my waist dart to my bust dart, so I'll get just 1 dart. You will still have a very perfect fit. So let's try it. All I'm going to do is I will cut this waist dart and then I will cut my all the way to the apex. So I'll throw this off and I've cut all the way to the apex. So now look at what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut my bust dart as well. So I'm cutting from this point all the way to that point like this and stop. So I've taken this one too off. Now look at this beautiful thing I'm just going to do. Now I'm just going to close my waist dart, and then you realize that the size of my bust dart is going to increase. So just pay attention to this. Well, watch the two, because I'm closing this and this is going to increase to become very big. So let's look at them. Now I'm closing and it is closed. Now just look at how big your bust dart has become all of a sudden. It's simply because I have combined the dart. I have moved 1 dart from its original area and then brought it there. So now you have a very big bust dart. So that is how it works. I have moved a waist dart to my bust dart like that. So when you are going to trace, you put this down, you draw around the whole thing, and then you trace your dart. Don't forget, I always told you, measure between 1/2 inch to 1 inch, then you now draw the dart beautifully like that. Now when you have a dart that is like this, it is called wide dart, because when you sew it, it will become very big. So usually after sewing, you can trim the dart off so that you can leave just 5/8 inch hanging. If you leave that big thing hanging in there, people will see. It is going to be a see-through, so they will see what is inside there. So yes, you can combine that, and also you can split that. So you realize that I have just moved a waist dart to my bust. I can split it. So let's just say I want to split the dart. I want to have 1 dart in my armhole, and then I want to have another dart in my shoulder. Then I would want to have another dart in my neck. So look at what I'm going to do. It's going to be very simple. I'm going to cut all of them, and then I'll close this a little. You realize that this will open. The more I close, I can distribute this excess I have here into all of them. So let's try that. Now that is called dart distribution. So I cut all the way to the apex. Don't forget, you must cut all the way to the apex. And then look at what I'm going to do. Now, when I close a little bit, when I close this, you realize that I have a dart here, beautifully done like that. So I have closed it up a bit, and then, okay, let me even close it slightly more. So I will have a dart here, all right, but it's going to be smaller. So this is the dart, Then I'm going to cut this and I'll cut this. So I'll distribute this and this into that area. So let me cut all of